Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut for getting up to speed on, well, pretty complex stuff.
Yeah, we take dense material, like today's source, and really pull out the core ideas for you. Saves you the trouble.
And today we're diving into patent law, specifically the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, or MPEP as everyone calls it.
That's right. We're looking at Chapter 2100, which is all about patentability.
And within that, we're zeroing in on a really specific but super important section, 2159.
Section 2159. Its title is a bit of a mouthful. Applicability, date provisions, and determining whether an application is subject to the first inventor to file provisions of the AIA.
Okay, so basically it helps figure out which set of rules apply to a patent application.
Exactly. It's all about the big shift caused by the America Invents Act, the AIA. Remember, that moved the U.S. from first to invent to first inventor to file.
Right, and that change officially happened back on March 16, 2013. So this section is key for understanding that transition.
Precisely. Our mission today is to unpack how the filing date of an invention determines if those older pre-AIA rules apply or if it falls under the newer AIA system.
Okay, so on the surface, you might think it's simple. Filed before March 16, 2013.
Then you're generally under the pre-AIA rules, the old 35 U.S.C. 102 and 103, focusing on who actually invented first.
And if you filed on or after that date,
Then typically you'd expect the AIA rules to apply, where being first to the patent office is what counts.
seems like a nice clean line, doesn't it?
It does, but I suspect it's not quite that simple.
No, not always. And that's exactly what Section 2159 gets into, the complications, especially around priority claims.
Priority claims. So when an application filed after the 2013 date points back to an earlier pre-AIA application, that's where it gets messy.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. And here's the absolute critical takeaway from Section 2159, the thing you really need to remember.
Okay, let's hear it. If any single claim in an application filed on or after March 16th, 2013 has what's called an effective filing date on or after that March 16th date, then the entire application falls under the AIA rules.
The whole thing. Just because of one claim, even if there are other claims that rely on an older date.
The whole thing. And get this, it applies even if you later cancel that specific claim.
Wait, really? So if a claim with a post-AIA effective date existed at any point in the application?
That's enough. It flips the switch for the entire application to AIA permanently.
Wow. Okay, that feels like a detail that could easily trip someone up. Can we walk through an example?
Absolutely. Let's use the classic continuation in part, or CIP example. Imagine you file a CIP on, say, March 20, 2013, so after the deadline.
Okay.
And this CIP claims benefit back to a parent application filed in 2012, well before the AIA change.
So pre-AIA parent, post-AIA child application.
Exactly. Now let's say this new CIP includes a claim covering something new, something that wasn't actually described back in the 2012 parent application.
Right, new matter introduced in the CIP.
Correct. That claim, the one with the new stuff, gets an effective filing date of March 20, 2013, the date the CIP was filed.
And because that claim has a post-March 16th effective date,
the entire CIP application is now subject to the AIA rules. Doesn't matter if the applicant later thinks, oh, maybe I don't want that claim, and cancels it. Too late. The whole application is AIA.
Okay, so for anyone listening who deals with patents, this shows how critical careful claim drafting is, especially around that transition date. Adding even one claim with new matter in a CIP like that totally changes the legal framework.
It absolutely does. And Section 2159 also specifically addresses how this works for other types, like regular continuations and divisional applications, not just CIPs.
So how does it handle those, say, amending an older pre-AIA application after March 16, 2013?
Well, the MPEP explains that too. You can shift a pre-AIA application into the AIA system by amending it to add claims that have an effective filing date on or after March 16, 2013.
Okay. So amendments can trigger it too.
Yes, but there's a crucial condition. Those new claims must be properly supported by the original disclosure back in the pre-AIA application. They need to meet the requirements of 35 U.S.C. 112.
So you're basically claiming something that was already described, just maybe not explicitly claimed before.
Exactly. You're pointing to something already implicitly or explicitly there. That's different from adding claims based on totally new matter stuff that just wasn't in the original filing at all.
And adding that kind of prohibited new matter doesn't trigger the AIA switch.
Correct. Adding new matter is barred by a different rule, 35 U.S.C. 132, but doing so wouldn't, in itself, convert the application to AIA status. It highlights how important that original disclosure is.
It's like the system says, fine, claim what you already told us about, but don't try to sneak completely new inventions under the old rules using an amendment.
That's a good way to think about it. Now, there's another piece to this puzzle in Section 2159, applicant statements.
Applicant statements. What do applicants need to...
Okay, so picture that scenario again. A post-AIA application claiming benefit to a pre-AIA filing.
Got it.
If that post-AIA application contains even one claim that has a post-AIA effective filing date, like our CIP example,
Right.
then the applicant must explicitly tell the USPTO about it. They have to make an affirmative statement. The rules for this are in 37 CFR 1.55 and 1.78.
So you can't just file it and hope the examiner figures it out. You have to flag it yourself.
You absolutely have to flag it. It's your responsibility.
Why is that required?
It's really about clarity and efficiency for the USPTO. These statements ensure the examiner knows right away that, okay, this application claims old priority, but it also has at least one claim triggering AIA. It helps them apply the correct law from the start.
Makes sense. It avoids confusion about which set of prior art rules, for instance, should be used.
Exactly. It ensures the right legal framework is applied during examination. So for you listening, it's another procedural step you need to be aware of when managing these kinds of applications.
Okay, let's try to boil this down. What are the absolute key takeaways from Section 2159?
Number one, I'd say, is that the effective filing date of any single claim is the decider for whether pre-AIA or AIA law applies.
Any claim, even one that gets canceled later.
Correct. Number two, this gets particularly complex when you have applications claiming priority or benefit across that March 16, 2013 line.
Which means takeaway number 3 is probably about careful drafting.
Definitely. Precision in drafting claims and amendments is critical. You need to know the effective filing date of every claim you write, especially if you're near that 2013 transition.
And understand if your claims are actually supported by the earlier disclosure under Section 112.
Right. And finally, applicants need to remember their responsibility. Accurately claim benefit and make those required statements under 1.55 or 1.78 if you have a claim triggering AIA and an application benefiting from a pre-AIA filing.
It really paints a picture of how complex navigating that legal transition was, and still is, for applications with long family histories.
It really does. And, as we said, this Hape Dive is just one part of a much larger educational series covering the entire MPEP.
Yeah, the goal is to make each section a bit more accessible, breaking down these sometimes dense legal and procedural points for students, practitioners, anyone needing to understand patent examination.
And understanding Section 2159 and these applicability dates is pretty fundamental for working within the current U.S. patent system.
So here's something to think about after we wrap up. We've talked about the mechanics of this transition rule, but what are the bigger, maybe longer-term strategic effects? How do you think the shift to first inventor to file, with all these date complexities, continues to shape how inventors and companies approach patent strategy today?
That's a great question. It definitely shifted things.
Definitely worth pondering. And of course, we encourage you to explore other MPEP sections as well.
Absolutely. Build that broader understanding.
Okay, just our standard but very important disclaimer before we go. This summary was put together with help from AI tools like ChatGPT and NotebookLM. It might have errors or miss things.
Right. It's meant for general educational info only. It is definitely not legal advice.
For the official word, you always need to go to the official MPEP itself, consult a qualified instructor, or talk to a registered patent attorney or agent.
Please do. And finally, a big thank you is due to Mike Shepard.
Yes, thanks to Mike, the creative director who organized this whole MPEP summary project and made this series possible.
Thanks for tuning into this deep dive.